Can children experience more than one adverse childhood experience? Let's take a look. As we've already discussed in our other videos, adverse childhood experiences are stressful events that happen during childhood. A question we're often asked is, can children experience more than one adverse childhood experience at the same time? There are three categories of adverse childhood experience: abuse, neglect, and household dysfunction. Within those categories, there are also different types of adverse childhood experience. Children can experience one or more than one type of adverse childhood experience. In fact, some children are exposed to many adverse childhood experiences. Adverse childhood experiences can also happen at different frequencies and intensities, with some children experiencing them over prolonged periods and some children experiencing a one-off adverse childhood experience. Let's take a look at an example of a one-off adverse childhood experience. A child could experience a one-off adverse childhood experience. For example, they could grow up in a household that was loving and supportive, where their needs were consistently met. One day they go swimming with their friends and they get into difficulty in the water, needing to be rescued. This is an adverse childhood experience because this was a stressful event where the child was fearful for their own safety, but it's a one-off adverse childhood experience. These one-off adverse childhood experiences are very different from multiple experiences or experiences that happen over a prolonged period of time. It, however, doesn't mean that one-off experiences are less impactful than multiple experiences or prolonged experiences. That's very unique and different for every individual child. Let's look at some different examples of multiple adverse childhood experiences happening. A child could experience multiple adverse childhood experiences. For example, they could grow up in a household that is cold and where they aren't provided with regular meals. They could witness violence. They may not always have a safe person who is there to protect them or comfort them when they feel upset. They may be rejected and made to feel that everything is their fault. In this example, the child has experienced 4 separate adverse childhood experiences. There's multiple experiences all happening at the same time. Something else to be really mindful of is that these experiences are happening over a prolonged period, so they're going to have a very different impact than a one-off event. If children have had multiple adverse childhood experiences, like in this example, we often don't know exactly what they've experienced or how long these experiences have happened for. It can be tricky to pinpoint specific adverse experiences and a time frame in which they happened, or rule out other experiences. In this example, if all of these experiences were happening, how do we know there weren't also other adverse experiences that the child had? Could the child have got in the way of any violence and experienced violence themselves? Was there any alcohol involved, and did they witness this? The impact of adverse childhood experiences will be different depending on the type of experience, how long it went on for, the stage of development the child was in when the experience happened, if there were any protective factors in place, and if there was anything else going on around the child at the time. All of these things can contribute to trauma impact. To find out more about trauma impact, check out our next video, which looks at when do adverse childhood experiences become childhood trauma. But before we move on, here's one final trauma-informed care top tip. If you're supporting a child who's had multiple adverse childhood experiences, don't assume you know all of the adverse experiences that they've had. What we've found is that children who've had multiple experiences have often had other experiences that we don't yet know about, and we might be seeing a trauma response or trauma impact from those experiences. Keep a really open mind that there might be more adverse experiences than you currently know about. Check out our next video and remember to subscribe to Tribe for more trauma-informed care in practice.